Welcome to The Critique. Today we're looking at a video commentary script from an Australian creator. It mixes Super Bowl predictions with a pretty sharp critique of Candace Owens' recent conspiracy theories.
Right. It's a complex mix. You've got sports on one hand and some, very high-stakes political drama on the other. So let's just dive straight into how it's all put together.
So the first thing that really jumps out is, well, it's a structural issue. It's what journalists call burying the lead. The current structure, it dilutes the urgency of the main story by front-loading all these low-stakes personal anecdotes.
Yeah, I noticed that. How much time do we actually spend on that preamble? Reading through it, a pretty big chunk is just about the Super Bowl.
A huge chunk. Patriots versus Seahawks, the host's support for the Eagles, betting habits, the fact that they're Australian.
All before you get to the actual topic.
Exactly. And people are probably clicking on this because the title promises something explosive about Owens and Kirk, this public execution claim.
But first they have to sit through why the Seahawks are a well-rounded team.
Right, and you risk losing them. That's a major friction point right at the start of the piece.
It is. If you look at it from an audience retention perspective, am I really going to stick around for quarterback comparisons if I came for the political takedown?
Probably not. You're creating a situation where your audience might just bounce before the real story even begins.
Yeah, that risk feels very high.
So the suggestion here would be to, what, just flip the whole thing on its head? Pretty much. Invert the structure. Prioritize the high-conflict material right away and use the Super Bowl stuff as more of a framing device, not the whole introduction.
Okay, that makes sense. So how do you do that without losing the host's personality?
Well, the script actually has the perfect tool for it already. It's just buried in the middle.
What's that?
The John Men proposal, the part where someone suggests Candace Owens should perform at the halftime show to spill her lies.
Oh, right, so you open with that.
You open directly with that. It immediately connects the Super Bowl theme, which is the timely hook, to the drama, which is the real substance.
I see. So you're saying something like, forget the Patriots for a second. The real Super Bowl drama is this proposal.
Exactly. You launch right into the absurdity of it. Then you can take all that personal stuff, the betting, the Eagles fandom, and move it to the very end.
Like a palate cleanser.
A palate cleanser, a sign-off, a reward for the listeners who stuck around. It respects everyone's time.
That's a much stronger structure. Okay, so moving on from structure, let's talk about tone.
Yeah. The tone. The reliance on these repetitive, sort of colloquial insults really diminishes the authority of the argument.
I saw that all over the place. We've got dingbat, nutjob, sicko, bloody weirdo.
And that claim about John Men having a massive hard-on for Owens?
Yeah, it establishes a very specific, aggressive persona.
It does, and I get what the writer's going for, that sense of frustration. But the weakness is that it makes the host look just as emotionally reactive as the person they're criticizing.
Right, you stop being an analyst and you just become a heckler.
You do. You lower your own status. So the suggestion is to replace the insults with a sharper, more clinical deconstruction of the logical fallacy.
Let the absurdity of the claim speak for itself.
Yes. For example, there's the theory about France and Israel teaming up for a $1.5 million assassination. The host calls Owens a dingbat for it.
Right. But the stronger argument is just the math.
Exactly. Focus on the logistical impossibility. The script mentions a deal worth billions versus this tiny $1.5 million hit.
So the critique becomes, why on earth would they do that? That question is devastating. Calling her a dingbat is just
noise.
It's noise. And it applies to the other people too, like Morgan Ariel, the loyal lieutenant.
Another dingbat.
Right. Take out the label. Instead, focus on the mechanics of how she amplifies the message. Show the echo chamber. Don't just tell us the people in it are nuts.
Okay, so with the Pierre narrative, for example, you don't just call it crazy.
No, you frame it as logically inconsistent. The humor isn't in calling him a weirdo. It's in the impossibility of.
How does a random donor in France know about a death before the family does?
Precisely. That's irony. That's actual wit. It elevates the whole discourse.
It treats the audience like they're smart enough to get it without a neon sign that says nut job, which leads us to the third point, because the facts are getting a little lost here. Clarity and narrative synthesis.
Yeah, this part was tough to follow.
The specific allegations about this international conspiracy, they're presented in a really fragmented way.
I was struggling. We're jumping from Justin Strife to this guy, Pierre, to a $1.5 million plot, then a separate deal for billions.
And then suddenly we're talking about defamation and legal fees.
It's a fire hose of information. The host seems to be reacting to clips in real time instead of, setting the stage for us first.
That's the weakness. The listener can't track what Owens is even alleging because the timeline is just completely broken.
Right, so the suggestion is to group all of that stuff together. Create a cohesive timeline, a brief, before you even start the rebuttal.
You could even give it a title like The French Connection.
That's much more compelling. So you'd lay it out.
You lay it out linearly. Step 1, Pierre, the French donor, calls Justin Strife. Step 2, Pierre somehow knows about the death before anyone else. Step 3, this deal for billions goes through right after.
You present it cold like that.
And then you pivot. Once that timeline is crystal clear, you hit them with the contrast.
Which is that Owens claims she has verifiable proof in writing,
But refuses to show any of it. And that contrast hits so much harder when the audience actually understands the story she's trying to sell.
It anchors the whole thing, because right now that Pierre thread is just kind of flailing.
Speaking of flailing threads, we need to talk about the fan theories.
Oh yeah, that was a serious rabbit hole.
It's a huge issue. Introducing these third-party fan theories without a clear reason just dilutes the critique of the main subject.
Especially that one about Charlie Kirk's kids not being his biologically. It felt so disconnected from the whole international assassination plot.
It did. And the weakness is, you're left wondering, is this something Owens is claiming? Or did the host just find a random angry comment online?
And then suddenly we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein being alive. It felt like we drifted from analyzing a creator to just wading through a comment section.
Exactly. It muddies the water. So the suggestion here is to frame those fan theories strictly as evidence of the impact of Owens' rhetoric.
Not as standalone news items to debunk.
Right. So instead of arguing against the paternity claim directly, you reframe it.
How would you do that?
You say, this is the downstream effect. You don't dignify the claim by disproving it. You use it as proof of the hysteria she's creating.
Because the main narrative is so loose with the truth, it empowers followers to invent things like this.
That's the move. It keeps the focus on the creator's responsibility. And you can use the Tyler Robinson mention, the guy in the prison cell.
To anchor it in reality.
Yes. Contrast his real-world consequences with the fantasy world of fans who think Epstein is alive. It's about the danger of the rhetoric, not just laughing at another crazy idea.
That gives it so much more weight. It stops being gossip and starts being actual social commentary.
It does. Which brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, satirical consistency.
This was maybe the most jarring part for me.
The juxtaposition of pop culture satire with these incredibly serious murder allegations, it requires a much more delicate balance.
Yeah, we go from talking about Bad Bunny being a dingbat who hates America,
and this idea for a Turning Point USA halftime show with Kid Rock,
straight into the public execution of Charlie Kirk.
It's tonal whiplash. 1 second you're in this satirical space, the next you're in a very real conspiracy about an assassination. The listener has no idea how to feel.
And that's the conflict, right? The anger about the conspiracy feels genuine, but the Bad Bunny references feel like a comedy roast.
So the suggestion is to clearly demarcate the two. Separate the satirical commentary from the serious investigation.
So it's a structural thing again.
It is. Use that Turning Point USA halftime show idea as a satirical bookend. Start with it, maybe end with it. Let it be the comedic wrapper.
And the middle section?
The middle part, about the assassination, France, Israel, all of that. You have to drop the pop culture stuff entirely.
No more Bad Bunny is a dingbat while you're talking about a murder plot?
Absolutely not. You treat that section with a kind of mock seriousness, which actually heightens the absurdity of the claims. If you're joking around, you deflate your own point.
You want the listener to feel the weight of the accusation.
Yes, she is accusing a foreign government of murder. Is heavy. Adding, and also Bad Bunny is a dingbat, just ruins it. It all comes down to discipline, doesn't it?
It really does. The discipline to stay in one lane at a time.
And I think the writer has all the raw materials. They've got the wit, they've got the passion. It's just about organizing those elements so they don't trip over each other.
That's a good way to put it. So this to bring this all together.
Yeah, let's recap. We've covered a lot, from structure to tone.
And I think the big takeaway is respecting the hook. Don't bury the lead, and don't bury the logic under a pile of insults.
So the main actionable takeaway. First, invert the structure. Hook the audience immediately with the high-conflict drama, like that John Min proposed. Save the sports talk for the end.
Second, elevate the tone. Drop the playground insults. Let the facts and the logistical impossibilities do the heavy lifting of discrediting the subject.
And third, synthesize that conspiracy timeline. Give us a clear, step-by-step brief on the whole Pierre and French connection story before you start tearing it apart.
Right, and frame those fan theories as consequences, not just random noise.
Exactly. There is a very sharp, very entertaining piece of commentary in this draft. It just needs a bit of reorganization to really let that core narrative shine.
I really would love to see how that peer timeline looks once it's all laid out clearly.
We would too. We encourage the writer to refine the script, especially focusing on clarifying that timeline and sharpening the opening. Please submit it again for a follow-up critique. We'd love to see its evolution. Thanks for listening to
The Critique.